The Nationals just lost their 15th straight game when trying to get to 500, and this is now a thing.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and yes, right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. If your first bet wins, head to FanDuel.com to get started. And welcome into Locked On Nationals. I'm your host, Ryan Clary, and later on in today's show, we'll have a Beltway Series preview. The Orioles are in town going up against the Nationals. We're expecting massive fans, a ton of people at Nationals Park this weekend, so let's talk about that later on in the program today. And in the second segment, it is a Friday, so you know what that means. It's time to go farming with the Washington Nationals. Who's been growing and who has been blowing? We'll talk about that in the second segment of the show today. But the Nationals cannot get to 500, and there is no team in baseball that hates being 500 or better than the Washington Nationals. So let's jump into that here. Yesterday's game, the Nationals had an opportunity to go 500, to get to 500 for, I believe, the first time since 2024 when they were 19-19. And I think they were going up against the Giants at that point in time. But regardless of the situation, this team just can't get past themselves. And so they had the opportunity yesterday. You've got your ace going with Foster Griffin, and unfortunately, he gave up 9 earned runs in 4 1/3 inning. Foster Griffin has been great all season long. I do think there is a little bit of a regression period that might be starting. With that in mind, though, I do believe that Foster Griffin is a good starting caliber pitcher, but should he be the ace of this team moving forward? No. Could he be a reliable starting pitcher? Absolutely. That's kind of the role that I think he should be in. And so far, he just hasn't, had like those stinker outings, and he's kind of kept the ball in the yard for the most part. He's been handling things correctly. He's been throwing strikes and having 7 different pitches. It is difficult to go against him. Kind of unraveled in front of our eyes. And that was kind of the downside. Number one, giving up multiple home runs. And his ERA, I believe, was at roughly around a 2.6 entering that game yesterday. And after you give up 9 earned runs in 4 1/3 inning, he is now up to a 3.53. I do think that Foster Griffin has had a little bit of luck. And if you look at some of his expected numbers, that is kind of what they tell a lot of things, all of us at this point. But also, I'm not really big in like the expected ERA and all those expected numbers. I think those are kind of a flawed stat. And the reason why I say that is I look at Keibert Ruiz, and if you go by the expected numbers and the expected batting average, then Keibert Ruiz would be the unluckiest guy in Major League Baseball. Maybe he is, but I've now seen a sample size of that for 5+ years at this point. So I don't really look at that and say and take it as gospel. But right now, Foster Griffin, that was just a stinker. And as far as goes, you went up against their stud, Chase Burns. He is a monster. He is one of the top young pitchers in baseball. And we saw that on display yesterday. And he shut down the Nationals offense. He only gave up 2 hits yesterday, struck out 7 batters across 6 frames, and his ERA is now at 1.87. So I always knew that yesterday's game was going to be difficult. Going up against Chase Burns, the Nats won the first 2 games in Cincinnati, and the Reds are a good team. And this is a team that you might look at the standings and they're 5th in the NL Central, but this is still a very good team. And I think that the Nationals, they kind of just ran into a buzzsaw in Game 3. And we talked about it yesterday as well. Whatever it is, with the Nationals trying to get over that 500 mark, or trying to get to that 500 mark, they cannot get over that. So it is now 15 straight games for the Nationals trying to get above 500 or at 500 even. It has been since May of 2024, the last time that the Nationals were at 500 and won a game to get to 500. Straight games. That is an incredible stat. And this is a thing, by the way. I saw that Mark Zuckerman from Substack, he wrote about this yesterday. And I do think that this is kind of a pivotal moment for the Nationals. And it's not just from yesterday's game, but the bigger picture for things from as far as the Nats goes. When you have a team that is young and a team that is still, has a lot to prove moving forward, you kind of need to have them get some wins early and often. And you want to see them compete in some big games. It's kind of a tone setter or maybe even a culture setter for this team. And so for the Nationals to continue to lose these games, I'm not here to tell you that it's the biggest deal in the world, but it is kind of a big deal. And this is a thing for the Nats. You want to see yourself get competitive and win games and put yourself in an opportunity where you can go above 500. Because where this team is now, they're in a good spot. You've seen the development. You've seen the starting pitching kind of turn a corner. You've seen the relief pitching kind of turn a corner a little bit. The offense is one of the best that this sport has got right now. But the fact that you cannot get to 500, it's not just, the last 2 games trying to get to 500. It's the last 15 games. And you cannot get that monkey off your back. That is a real thing for the Nationals. And I do think that moving forward, when the Nationals are 1 game under 500 and they have an opportunity to get to that 500 mark, I'm probably going to go on FanDuel and bet against the Washington Nationals. I just haven't seen it yet. I don't know what it is. I do think that the Nats are obviously a much better organization right now than what they were at this time last year. And I believe in this coaching staff. I believe in this front office. But with where things are today, you want them to get to that 500 mark and play a cleaner brand of baseball. This is one of the best offenses in the sport. You need them to carry you in moments like yesterday. But showing up and only scoring 1 run on 3 hits, that is not going to get the job done. And when you have James Wood, Luis Garcia Jr., Brady House, C.J. Abrams, and of course, Jacob Young as well, and Dalen Lyle, all combined for 1 hit that came from Luis Garcia Jr., when you have your top 5, 6 guys in a lineup that only combines for 1 hit, you're going to be in for a tough day. And, I'm not going to sit here and say, the offense blew yesterday. They disappointed. They've been so good all season long. It's been the biggest surprise, I think. The best offenses in baseball right now. I'm not going to sit here and say, the offense blew it. They have carried this operation. They have been an absolute incredible offense to watch so far this season. But I would like to see you get more than 3 hits and 9 innings. And in a team that, yes, you're going up against a very good pitcher with Chase Burns. Yes, I expect you to struggle against one of the game's brightest young pitchers with Chase Burns. But I'm going to need you to kind of step it up a little bit. But when you get down early and often, the Nationals got down 2-0 in the second. It was 6-0 in the fourth. And then the 5th inning, the doors kind of blew open. And all of a sudden, it was an absolute blowout for the Nationals. So wasn't the best of days. And yes, this is a thing for the Nationals not getting to 500. And I do think that they're going to have to kind of look themselves in the mirror a little bit and say, we got to get past this. And this is something that the Nationals will hopefully have an opportunity to do maybe on Saturday to get to 500 against the Orioles. I think that stadium will be absolutely packed. So we'll talk more about the Beltway Series in just a little bit. But next, I want to get into some of the Nationals' top prospects. We've talked about them all week, but who has been growing and who has been blowing? We'll talk about that after this. Before that, the NBA playoffs are here and every possession matters. And if you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get 150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. And yes, that's right. Turn $5 into 150 in bonus bets just for getting started. And of course, the NBA action has been hot and ready. And I think that right now, you know where I'm going to go with this. I have got tonight the Pistons and the Cavaliers. I have got the Pistons plus 3.5. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they're a good team, but this is the 1 seed Detroit Pistons. I think Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons will finish this thing off tonight. And of course, I love using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in every place. If you want player props, they've got player props for days. And whether you're looking at player props or just following your favorite stars, it adds another level of excitement to every single game. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. And again, that is FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Next, let me tell you about our friends over at Rocket Money. And if you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming super fast, but that is where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place, and it tracks all your subscriptions in one spot so it can help cancel the unwanted subscriptions, or just with a few taps you can get your budgets and of course stay on top of upcoming bills. This is a very helpful tool for everybody who may just forget that you've got a couple of different subscriptions that you haven't used in months. Rocket Money can help detect that, and you can stay on top of your bills and of course set some goals for yourself in the future. Rocket Money is just the best. And yes, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions and monitors your spending and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. If you have not done so already, make sure to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with myself and other listeners of this show. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonnationals.supercast.com. It's time to go farming with the Washington Nationals, and this is where you get your latest individual performances on the Washington Nationals top prospects. And we start out with a growing, and I will say this is a good week in the farm system. I've already talked about Devin Fitzgerald. We've talked about Ronnie Cruz. We've talked about all the other different prospects. So these are a couple of guys that we haven't really mentioned this week, and they've also all been growing. So this is a good one. Yo-Yo Morales, one of the Nationals' top 30 prospects, a second-round pick back in 2024, I believe. Yes, it was 2023, actually, thinking back to just a few years ago. But Yo-Yo Morales, in the month of May, is batting .419, a .519 OBP, and an .860 slug, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, 4 doubles. That brings up the question, when will he come up? And is he ready to come up? I'm ready to see Yohandy Morales at this point. I think you're ready to see Yo-Yo Morales. And yes, I've been reading your comments on YouTube, so this is my time to talk about Yo-Yo Morales. I am ready to see him. I am ready to try this out at first base. I think that Luis Garcia Jr. was on a tear recently, and yes, he had that sprained wrist, but I do believe that the next call-up at first base will be Yo-Yo. And Curtis Mead is kind of in that situation where he's a fine player, but I don't think that he has any kind of future in DC. Does Yo-Yo Morales have a future in DC? That's still to be determined at this point. I would much rather try to figure things out with Yohandy Morales. Now, I think that the Nationals have a larger plan in place. Like, your first base position, you want someone who's comfortable there defensively, and you'd preferably like someone who can mash the baseball. Yo-Yo can do that. And I think early on this season, we were talking about Yohandy Morales, and this is what his really like his third season in AAA. It's the guy is ready. Like, there is no more waiting at this point. And so I do kind of wonder, like, When will the Nationals just rip the Band-Aid off and call him up? I wanted him up last September. I thought it was pretty ridiculous that the Nationals didn't give him a chance to come up in September. He was hot in August. He had the opportunity. The rosters expanded in September, and the Nationals never called him up in a pretty lost season at that point. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. And so now early on this season, you've got Luis Garcia Jr. and Curtis Mead as your lefty-righty tandem at first base. Why don't we just move off of Curtis Mead and figure out what we have with Yohandy Morales? I think that feels like the logical move, but maybe Curtis Mead just has Blake Butera's eye. And I think that Butera and Curtis Mead, also coming from the Tampa Bay Rays, they've got a background with each other. So I do think there's something in play there. And maybe there is a long-term plan for Curtis Mead. But why aren't we giving this guy, Yo Morales, an opportunity? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I continue to go out there and think to myself, when will the Nationals call this guy up? The time is now. Like, he is crushing the baseball. He is clearly one of your better options at first base, alongside Luis Garcia Jr. And then Curtis Mead, you can debate that at this point. I think it's time to see him. And the Nationals have got to make a move eventually. So he has been growing at this point for the Nationals, and I don't think that there's really even a discussion to be had outside of that. Who is also growing is Ethan Petry. If you look at what Ethan Petry brings to the table, coming as a second-round pick from this past year's draft class out of the University of South Carolina, Ethan Petry has been crushing the baseball in the month of May as well. If you look at his numbers, he has a 225 batting average in May, and then a 298 OBP, and you're like, okay, well, where's he? Oh, a 575 slug. And in that time frame, in the month of May, he's got 4 home runs, 13 RBIs, 5 walks to 11 strikeouts, and coming as a first baseman as well, he's now has 7 home runs on the season with a 932 OPS. And let's talk about Wilmington again. Every time I talk about an offensive player at Wilmington, I always say that is a very hard ballpark to hit it. It is tall fences there, and it's just a pitcher-friendly yard. It's always been that way. It's hard to get extra base hits there, and Ethan Petry has done all those things. At the age of 21, I think that Petry will be a pretty quick riser in the national system, and I do think that there is some long-term potential as far as Ethan Petry goes. He was supposed to be a first-round pick. That sound a little bit familiar? Kind of sounds that same profile as a Yohandy Morales. And when we drafted him in the second round out of Miami, yes, he came over from the third base position, but everyone thought that he would move over to first. And that was never really a question. But with Ethan Petry, like, this is a outfielder / first baseman type. And I think that Petry would fit perfectly over at first base. And again, having that right-handed power bat, the Nationals kind of lack that at this point. You see what we've got with Dalen Mile and James Wood and CJ Abrams, but you kind of need that lethal right-handed power bat. I think Brady House will be that, but he's got to be more consistent. But outside of that, Yohandy Morales and, of course, Ethan Petry, those guys fit the mold for what the Nationals should want down the line. So Ethan Petry has been growing alongside Yohandy Morales. And last but not least, our old friend, Dylan Crews. Dylan Crews doesn't have the best numbers overall, but I think there is clearly something there from the Nationals. And I do think that in the month of May, he has been growing. We're at the midway point. It's May 15th, and in May, he's batting 292, a 346 OBP, and a 521 slug. It's not like the most impressive thing in the world, but he has a couple of home runs. He's got 5 doubles, and he looks more confident. If Dylan Crews were to put up like a 770 OPS in the majors, he's good enough defensively where you don't really have to worry about that. And I think that's kind of where Crews is today. Now, if you look around the outfield, like Jacob Young, the way that he has been struggling offensively, there's kind of a hole that is opening up for a guy like Dylan Cruz. But also, you want to make sure that this guy is ready. And I think that there is a real kind of confidence thing when it comes to him. Like when you are a number 2 overall pick and when you're having your bobblehead day and Dylan Cruz is everywhere over all over Nationals Park and he's one of the faces of this franchise, and for him to get optioned to AAA right before the season starts, it came as a real big surprise to everybody. And it probably shouldn't have, looking back on it, because this organization and the new player development regime and front office and coaching staff, they didn't draft Dylan Cruz. Like, this is not their baby here. This is not their number 2 overall pick. So they kind of gave him a clean slate, and he struggled in spring training and he got optioned. So we probably shouldn't have been that surprised when it happened at first there. But I look at Dylan Cruz now, and it does feel as if he's starting to turn that corner, because he did start off slow in AAA, and even Harry Ford did as well. But Ford, if you look at him recently, he's starting to turn that corner. So maybe this is, for the both of them, the time that they're kind of starting to click and getting their mechanics down and really starting to grow up in Rochester. So watch out for Dylan Cruz these next couple of weeks. Maybe you do get to see him get called up here before the month of June, but the Nationals have got 16 games in 16 days. You'll probably see a lot of roster movement, and Dylan Cruz getting called up maybe wouldn't surprise me all too much. So we'll talk more about Dylan Cruz on Monday's show. But next, let's get into the Beltway Series, one of the favorite series all year long. It's time for the Orioles to come to town, and yes, that means that there is a rivalry brewing. Before that, let me tell you about our friends at Indeed. With workplace chaos and deadlines stacking up and your inbox overflowing, and that one position that you have to fill is still sitting open, but when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with skills, experience, and location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. And when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. We're back rolling here on Locked On Nationals, and we have got the Birds coming to town. The Baltimore Orioles going up against the Washington Nationals. And tonight, you've got Zach Littell going up against Shane Baz of the Baltimore Orioles, and someone who is a pretty big trade acquisition for the Orioles this offseason. He has had a very tough start, a 1.56 whip across his first 8 starts and 44 in the third innings pitch. He has been kind of a disappointment so far, but even then, if you look at the Orioles, they've been a disappointment as a team. They are 20-24. The Nationals are 21-23. This is a pretty evenly matched team at this point. I do not expect the Orioles to be this bad. I think their lineup is too good. I think their pitching could be a lot better, and I just think that they are better overall than what the Nationals are. But also, the Nationals do the little things correct outside of defense. And the Orioles, they've just kind of been an inconsistent mess at this point. So I think this will be something to watch this weekend. But as far as the Orioles go, do you think that they are now a rivalry? For whatever reason, I think that the Masson stuff really kind of grew this rivalry more than what it probably should have been, if we're being 100% transparent here. But I do think that Nats fans and Orioles fans do kind of hate each other. And it is funny because if you're the away team they take over Nats Park or we take over Camden Yards. And it's always kind of been a funny thing because we have all went to school here, if you're from here, with guys who have grown up watching the Orioles and they're Orioles fans, even though they're from Virginia. And they're like, well, my parents grew up as Orioles fans, so I'm an Orioles fan. My dad grew up as an Orioles fan, and I'm a Nats fan. And that's when the Nationals moved here in 05. We made the transition to be Nationals fans. So it's kind of one of those things where you watch from afar and it's kind of a close family rivalry. And I think that over the years, this has been kind of a fun thing to watch when it comes to watching the Orioles and, of course, the Nationals. So I think that's something that a lot of fans and a lot of people want to watch for this weekend. And I do think that we've got a really good weekend of baseball. So tonight you've got Zach Littell going up against Shane Baz. And then, of course, tomorrow's show, you've got Chris Bassett going up against Cade Cavalli. That's a really good pitching matchup that I think will be a lot of fun. And then on Sunday, you've got Brandon Young going up against Miles Michaelis, who Michaelis has been pitching pretty decently well the last couple of starts here. So I think that the Nationals and the Orioles are set up for some really good series, a really good 3-game set going in DC. So it'll be a fun one. And of course, you can watch the breakdown right here on Locked On Nationals on Monday's show. Who is going to win the Beltway Series, the Battle of the Beltways, whatever you want to say. I will have that breakdown and much more on Monday's show. So until then, have a good one. Go Nats.